Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Two Cent. My name is Paul Emerson, and I'll be giving you my 2 cents. Today's topic is going to be on words not having power. So first, I may or may not add a vocabulary or a glossary to the beginning of this video, but it's 2015, and for the last few years, I've been having this discussion with individuals about how words have power and how you can manifest things, and if you have your thoughts all lined up, you can create your reality and this and that. And yeah, I'm not having those discussions anymore. I'm gonna make this video to explain my position and give you my opinion on what that means, how it's used, why it's incorrect, and how it will actually potentially set you up for failure greater than if you think correctly. You don't have to listen to someone else. My 2 cents has always been, it's a lot easier for me to put it in words now, but my 2 cents has always been about helping other people think for themselves. And it's pretty much what it's basically about. It's about when we grow up as children, we are giving values and we're taught things incorrectly. We're taught things based on our maturity level, based on how people around us feel we are going to need, what information people think we're going to need, and what information people think is relevant. We don't teach our daughters to play sports because sometimes we feel like that's too masculine. We don't allow our sons to play with Barbie dolls or, you know, play with makeup or whatever because we feel like it's not masculine enough. So what that does is it limits our thinking. It has a negative impact on who and how we are. Allowing a male to play with makeup doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to grow up a homosexual. And the same with females. It's a standard in our society. I'm not challenging it. I'm just explaining the reason why I put together my 2 cents, the whole reasoning behind why this entire YouTube channel exists. Because as I grew up, I noticed how everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but we're all subjected to this idea that there's only one right way of doing things. So you say that everyone has freedom of thought, but we're all subjected to one absolute truth. A perfect example is being an American. We all have freedom of religion, but we're all basically judged as Christians. And that's really, when you think about that, that's kind of it explains why there's so much psychosis in this country. Because how do you say that there's freedom of religion, but all of this religion and spiritual foundation that people have in this country is based on one ideological religion? And that's the reason why I put together my 2 cents. And that's the reason why I'm putting together this video on why words do not have power. Not because I think it's wrong or that I think that I'm better than everyone else. It's simply an understanding that getting your mind right is the single most important thing a person can do. It really doesn't matter if you get into heaven if the legacy you leave on earth creates this. I mean, it doesn't matter if you can quote every scripture from the Bible if you're an asshole. It just doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Jesus loves you if you're incapable of loving your neighbor. And that's the reason why my 2 cents. That's the reason why I'm not a Christian. Because what's the point in being able to quote the Bible, going to church every Sunday, and you can't even look yourself in the eyes in the mirror? You're not even able to rationalize or think simple thoughts, let alone complex thoughts, And I'm not attacking or belittling or trying to demean anyone. What I see a lot of people challenging each other's intelligence without providing a resource where you can learn, or you can grow. If a person is lacking in knowledge, when you know that everyone is born ignorant, instead of telling them they're stupid or that they're dumb, why not help them learn, help them evolve, help them grow mentally so that they can approach a higher thinking level, And it doesn't mean you're going to think the way I want you to think. It means, this is the information. You take it, you grow with it, you know, and that's what my 2 cents is about. That's the reason why I don't subscribe to the idea that words have power. People believe, or I'm not going to say believe, people understand that if they think a certain way, that they're going to be able to manifest that. So a person believes that if they think that they have a car, or if they want a car, let's say I want a car and I believe it works have power. I believe that if I think that I want a car and that I know in my heart that I'm going to have a car, that's all it takes. That's it. Once I do that, I'm set. It's like I'm already in the future driving down the street in this nice car that, you know, I'm just going to get. The universe is just going to give it to me. The problem with that thinking is that you set yourself up for failure. And the reason why is because you're not in a position to put forth the effort necessary to obtain that car. And see, that's why words don't have power. Words don't have power because power has a specific definition. Words do not manifest because manifestation has a specific definition. I'm going to manifest a cup of water. Where is it? Nowhere. Now, I can walk over to my sink and I can turn my faucet on and I can put a cup under there and I can get a cup of water. That's how you manifest. You manifest through your actions, not through just thinking. A thought is an action, but it's limited to just that. It's limited to only your internal influence. Words do not have power, they have an influence. You can influence yourself and others through what you say, but that is it. There is nothing above that. And if you believe in your heart that that's all it takes, you get 400 years of slavery. Because instead of actually taking the initiative and uprising and putting forth effort through time over distance, you know, you don't accomplish nothing in life. It is the most debilitating thing that you can do to each other is to convince someone that all you have to do is think it and it'll come true. It's like, no, you don't think it. You know, I could sit in my living room all day and think about how I want a female to come over and spend time with me. It is not going to happen. There is no divine nothing is going to just send a girl to my apartment and be like, yeah, I was just in the neighborhood and you were just thinking about me, so I just showed up. Like, no, that don't happen. You have to shave, you have to brush your teeth, you have to shower, you have to dress nice, you have to get cars, you have to present yourself in a manner that will allow you to obtain that which you want. You have to put forth effort in everything that you do. The only thing thinking and perceiving does is set you up to be in a position to obtain what you want, to obtain your goals, and that is it. Believing is just that. Believing it has nothing to do with obtaining, and that is the reason why so many people don't, especially like substance abuse. I'm gonna quit. This is my last cigarette. It's like it don't work that way. You know, you have to actually put forth an actual effort. You know, and that's the only quarrel that I have with the idea that you can manifest through your thoughts. Because you can't. The definite power is a physics equation. It's force over distance is the formula for work. If you have a body of mass and you move that body of mass through space, X amount of distance, the amount of mechanical weight that mass has and the distance it travels is the calculation for the force. It's a calculation of the work. The actual ability to influence an object through space, if a stationary object is located in position A in space and you want to move it to location B in space, the actual act of having that object change its location through space is the force required. When you calculate the distance that it travels, that's the work. The amount of time you do that, how often you do that, or how long it takes for that to occur, that's the power. So an object of a specific mass moving a certain distance for a certain length of time is the formula for power. I cannot look at an object, I cannot look at a car and say, I want you to go to McDonald's in 10 minutes, and then it just does it. That will be power. Words don't do that. What words do is it allows you to computationalize in your mind the act of how you're going to strategically, logistically achieve a goal, and that's it. You know, you can't do anything without taking an action. And I'm not talking about just a mental action. Thinking is a mental action. The actual work is a physical action, and there is no physical action that is directly linked to a verbal action other than an influence. If I am the general of a large army, I can tell my soldiers to go out and oppress people. The words carry an influence. They hear the actual command. They use their will. They choose of their own will to go out and do what I tell them to do or what I ask them to do. But me saying, "Hey, I want you to go destroy this nation," that's nothing. That's arbitrary. Because I can sit in my room all day and say, "I want to destroy a nation," and then nothing's going to happen. I can sit out of the room and think of doomsday devices, or I can sit out of the room and I can, come up with ways to make money so that I can pay people to do things. But all those things are just influences. The influence generates the force. The force applied to whatever is being acted upon will generate the work. And the work calculated through time is the definition of power, and that is absolute. There is no way around that. The best example that I can give you, which is the whole reason why I know words don't have power, basically goes back to the idolatry of slavery. Everyone that knows anything about American history and has any global studies or history, anything, knows that the foundation of American culture is built on African slavery, the slavery of the indigenous Negroid human populace on this planet were brought from all parts of the world to America and were forced indentured servants. They were chattel property. The culture of slavery in America, which makes it so much more different than the culture of slavery across the rest of the world, is that the idea of forcing the ideology on a person to make them perceive themselves as being less than human. Now, if words have power, Europeans, Caucasians, spent 400 years teaching African people that they were less than human. They were subhuman. They wrote it in all their documents. They said it on a daily basis. It was reinforced with the term nigger. And it went on for 400 years, probably longer than that. But you need to think about that. If words have power, then why am I not less than human as an African American male living in this country? If my ancestors were told every day of their life for 400 years, for 40 generations, that they were less than human and words have power, why then are our generation and our children that are being born into the future still human? You have to deal with that, because I know better, but you need to answer that question. If you can manifest your will, and Caucasians can manifest their will, and they willed for 400 years that African people were less than human, then why are they not less than human? If that same Henry Ford, Caucasian male, built cars, built combustion engines, Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Caucasian males, created electricity, all the infrastructure you see behind me, all byproducts of them putting forth effort, force over distance through time. They actually influence the world on a global scale. All this stuff, pneumatics, cybernetics, computer science, mathematics, chemistry, quantum physics, all of it. There's HLZs in Europe right now while they're trying to figure out the Higgs boson. All of that stuff is evidence of the level of influence that Europeans have on a physical plane, and if you want to say a spiritual plane. The question that I'm asking you, if words have power, when their ancestors spent 400 years invested in convincing Africans that they were less than human and subhuman, and it didn't work, why didn't it work? Why didn't their words carry sufficient power to make an entire generation of people less than human? Because I'm not going to keep having this discussion this year about words have power. Every time I come into this conclusion, every time I have this issue, this video will be uploaded. When me and my cousin, when we were younger, our dream goal was to start a video game. Not start a video game. Start in a space agency. We wanted to be like NASA. We wanted to build spaceships and put those things in space. That was our goal. That was our dream. When we were 16 and 17 years old, that's what we did. We used to draw up and draft up spaceships as a hobby. in our free time, in our spare time. We used to build ships out of Legos. We never ever imagined ourselves at 30 years old still struggling with poverty and adversity. We had our minds set on bigger and better. And we still have our minds set on bigger and better. And it's not because, oh, well, you just didn't think hard enough or you just didn't want it bad enough. It's like, no, we live with the adversities in this country every day like everyone else. And because of that, the things that we wanted did not go the way we needed them to, not because of our failing along, but just based on the society that we live in. You know, convincing yourself that you can just think what you want is mental masturbation. You have to put forth effort. This video is only getting recorded because I stopped doing what I was doing, got dressed, came into my kitchen, and started recording myself. And that's the only way things get done in this world. It's the only way things get done. Verbal communication is just that. It's verbal communication. Words only carry an influence. That's all. And influence is the foundation of a force, but without the actual force itself, you can't do anything. There is no work and there is no power. And the mind having free will, when you speak, you send out a very tiny vibration on a physical. The sound wave that you send out, it dissipates into background radiation probably within a few 100 feet of yourself. The influence that is carried is subject to the free will of mentality. Even something as simple as if you was in your living room and a rat ran by, you couldn't say stop. I command you to stop. It's gonna just keep on running and keep on doing what it wants to do, because your words are limited to the free will of mentalities. Your words only are capable of influencing a person's mindset of their will. When I'm walking down the street, people be calling me niggers and throwing stuff at me and screaming and yelling in 2015. It still happens. You probably don't want to believe that it doesn't, but it still happens. And when that stuff happens, I just keep it pushing, because there is not enough room in my head for me to entertain that BS anymore. I just no longer have the time for it. I spent a lot of energy dealing with my ex. I was homeless for 6 months last year. I worked 2 jobs, sleeping outside in a tent. Well, no, I worked 1 job, sleeping outside in a tent. Worked at Jack in the Box for 6 months, night shift. Homeless, sleeping outside in Vancouver, Washington's rain. But the point that I'm making is that the only reason why I was able to achieve what I have now is because I put forth the effort. I put in the work. I dealt with the adversities. I dealt with the discrimination. I dealt with the lack of help and support by the society and the nation and the neighbors. You know, I just put in the effort, because my long-term goal is to start a bank. And then after I start a bank, I want to start a city based on sustainable and based on equality and sustainability. That's what I'm doing with my life. I want to make a video game, and that's it. I just want to be an outstanding, decent person. And when people try to convince me other than that, because I know that there is no influence, because I know I have to submit to their ideology and their belief, my time is not wasted anymore. I go through this world. I hate going through this world, actually. To be honest, I prefer not to have to go through the world. But that's a subject for a whole nother day. The whole overall point of this video is, if you believe that thinking something is going to make it happen, then I respect your opinion. I don't. So we're not going to see eye to eye on that. So as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and this is my 2 cents.